Coming to you live from our studios here on the John Hammond Street in Ghana's capital. Good afternoon. We are live on DSTV channel 279. Also on Facebook at TV3 Ghana, where you can join us with your thoughts and your comments. My name is Godwin Asidiba.
And I am Judith Brown. Coming up this afternoon.
In the bulletin this noon, Minister of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs reaffirms commitment to collaborate with the National and Regional House of Chiefs to ensure that there's peace that should be reigned in the community.
Also this afternoon, Minority in Parliament warns that President Mahama's reshuffle of acting heads of state agencies sends a bad signal to investors.
A while later on health, with about 100 cases of burns recorded at the burns unit of the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital, the facility hopes training more critical care nurses will assist in catering to patients. Welcome to the program. My name is Godwin Asidiba. We begin the bulletin from here. The King of Dagbon and Dan Yana Abukari II is this afternoon at the Jakpa Palace in Damongo. The historic visit is to strengthen the relationship between Dagbon and Gonja land, which has existed for centuries. This is the first time a King of Dagbon is visiting the Jakpa Palace. It will be recalled that in June 2024, the Yagbonra embarked on a historic visit to the Gbewa Palace. Let's cross over to Damongo to engage with my colleague Christopher Amwako, who has been monitoring happenings there. Chris, many thanks for your time. How significant is this meeting of the two kings to the people?
Yes, so Godwin, here, the background you see behind me is the Jakpa Palace, and it's all joy here.
Right. We have quite a challenge crossing to Christopher Amwako, our Northern Regional Correspondent, to have details on exactly what is happening. But clearly, we can see people and smoke, which is quite historic or a very important cloth one in the northern part of the country, especially when it comes to historic events like these. And just so you get to know exactly what is happening, we know that the King of Dagbon and Dan Yana Abukari II this afternoon is visiting the Jakpa Palace in Damongo. And we know that the historic visit is to strengthen the relationship between Dagbon and the Gonja land, which has existed for centuries. So we will go back to the grounds and connect with Christopher Amwako to know exactly how this meeting is of significance to both communities. Chris, if you can hear me now, run us through exactly what is happening. Right, so unfortunately, we lost Chris there. But Judith, I believe this is quite significant because it's the first time this event is happening, and we are also hoping that in as much as they are coming together, peace will also reign in that part of the country.
Exactly, Godwin. But we're going to stay on chieftaincy issues because the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs has reaffirmed its stance to firmly collaborate with the Regional and National House of Chiefs to ensure the speedy resolution of chieftaincy disputes in the country. At an engagement with the chiefs, the Minister, Ahmed Ibrahim, indicated that aside adequately resourcing the houses and the ministry intends to empower members of the Judicial Committee to enable them handle adjudication processes.
Nananom, as you are aware, the chieftaincy institution is bedeviled with so many issues. Notably, among them are disputes, succession plan, dissolvement, and in some cases, national security issues. The government of His Excellency the President is committed to resolve the Houses of Chiefs and the traditional authority councils, especially the Judicial Committee, to adjudicate these disputes and find lasting solutions to them. We shall continue to plead with litigants before the Judicial Committees to cooperate with the committees and allow them for due process to be followed. Nananom, the government is prepared to assist Nananom to resolve these disputes and thereby promote peace within the various traditional areas in the country. The presence of peace in the chieftaincy front will enhance speedy economic development of the country, as well as protect the dignity and pride of the chieftaincy institution.
We are highly invigorated by your pledge of strengthening the chieftaincy institution and supporting traditional authorities to perform their roles in maintaining social cohesion and culture preservation.
Let's move back to our earlier story where we know that the King of Dagbon and Dan Iyana Abukari II is this afternoon at the Jakpa Palace in Damango. And we are connecting with our colleague Christopher Amwako on details on the back of this. Chris, many thanks for joining us again. We want to know how this event is significant. Hello, Christopher, can you hear me?
So, Godwin, like I was saying, the visit of the King of Dagbon, Diana Abukari II Gojaland, is a historic one, of course, because this is the first time a city Diana is visiting the Jakpa Palace. And so, scores of Gojalanders and people from the Dagbon Kingdom have made their way to the Jakpa Palace today to welcome the King of Dagbon. This is so significant because this is to further strengthen and cement the relationship that has existed between the Dagbon Kingdom and that these are the two main ethnic groups in the northern part of the country. They are the most populous. While Dagbon has the population, Gojaland has the land, and so they have lived in peace and unity over the period. So this visit is historic, and it is one that is bringing more unity within Gojaland and Dagbon. I have the spokesperson to the Yagongra here, who will just briefly tell us the purpose of this visit beyond what I have explained. So, Diana is coming here. In June last year, you were in Dagbon. Tell us, how significant is this visit and what do we expect from this visit?
The visit is so significant that we have neighbors. So just ask ourselves, what is the essence of having a very good connection to neighbors? Have very good communication with each other, we are married, have a young para, love on our land, so on their land, so on their land, so on our land. And so once you have that good relationship among the neighbors, yes, we are able to solve so many problems. In conflict of war and other subjects, you are able to solve such rapport. Have a very good rapport and able to solve problems. All this are measures.
We have chieftaincy and land disputes in Gojaland and Dagbon. How will this visit strengthen that relationship to deal with the disputes in among the two ethnic groups?
Right, so that is the beginning of it. This one, we are going to sit together. They may indoor, they have some indoor meeting. That one is a focus meeting. That one, no one can go over it. At the end of it, they both have a very good relation. Now they put about to solve this our land and chieftaincy.
Okay, so Godwin, for the spokesperson of the Yagongra, this visit will also create an avenue for them to be able to solve the myriads of chieftaincy disputes and land disputes that have existed between the two kingdoms. This once the leaders agree that let's continue to live in peace, automatically the followers, the subordinates, will have to also do the same.
Right, thank you so much for the details. Christopher Amwako as our Northern Regional Correspondent. Judith is talking energy now.
Exactly, and Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, says the NDC administration has been vindicated after warning Ghanaians about the inefficiencies at the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. Now, an audit report carried out by PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, on the accounts of ECG for the 2024 financial year uncovered that 5.3 billion Ghana cedis was under-declared. Well, John Jinapor spoke in an interview on hot issues which is yet to be aired.
Well, I'm not surprised at what we've just gotten to know in respect of the PwC report. Right in opposition, we kept insisting that the system was inefficient, ECG was mismanaging the funds, under declaration of their revenues, and involvement in so much procurement, unplanned procurement, some of them unbudgeted for, and that is what is culminated in this problem. On assumption of office, I asked for the first month report, and what I got to know, to the shock of my life, is that ECG collects about 1.5 billion, and of that amount, about 500 million is not declared as far as the cash waterfall mechanism is concerned. So what ECG does is that of the 1.5 billion, they keep 500 first before they move in to take some more from the 1 billion, which is in contravention to the policy, to the cash waterfall mechanism. And so far what we are realizing is that they've gone into so many contractual obligations. So many banks deduct their monies at source. They've just gone for what they call a super vendor. That super vendor takes 5% at source. They've gone for a certain payment app from a company that takes another 3% at source. And so ab initio, you have a lot of deductions at source, which eats away almost a chunk of the money. I've just sent a directive to
I see. We'll get into some of the things that you're doing and that directive as well. But let's look at some of the issues that I want you to go into, for the sake of our viewers, real quick. We know that between the cash waterfall mechanism and then the cash settlement platform, the report tells us that some 5.3 billion cedis was unaccounted for. But does it say where that money went to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you take a case scenario like the 1.5 billion, what ECG ought to do is to deposit all the money into a holding account. So all the 1.5 billion ought to go into what you call a holding account.
Right.
Then there's a cash waterfall mechanism committee, which we are reconstituting. The ministry is represented, Ministry of Finance, PRC, and then they would determine the formula to apportion the money. So if ECG decides to declare only 1 billion, what it means is that the 500 million, they keep that money and spend it in-house. So this 5 billion that we are talking about are monies that are collected, but ECG failed to declare those monies and decided to appropriate the monies and spend them. So when they do that, then power producers will not be paid, generators will not be paid, the transmission grid companies will not be paid, even the levies, which are statutory and passed by Parliament, will not be paid. And that is where you are having some of these major problems. And it's all because they are engaging in what I call very frivolous procurements. They have about 3,000 containers stuck at the port, generating demurrage of about 1.5 billion. That is unacceptable. Some of the things they've procured will last them 10 years. Some would even expire in 5 years. And so we've commissioned a committee to investigate ECG's procurements and the cause of these containers stuck at the ports.
Well, hot issues with Kemni Amano air today at 2 p.m. And so be sure to stick and stay with us right here on TV3.
President John Dramani Mahama's reshuffle of acting heads of state agencies has sparked controversy, with the minority warning it weakens his authority and sends a bad signal to investors. The majority, however, insists the appointments were never substantive, giving the president the flexibility to realign leadership as needed.
We heard of Honorable Bauer being appointed as acting chief executive of GMPC. Then he's been reassigned now to GOIL. Again, we heard of Honorable Hanabisiu going to Common Fund. Then now we hear Honorable Mr. Ishmael Yamson's son is going there. The president has just assumed office. It appears as though what is happening is Asedu Ketia Fabakon, Julius Zebra Fabakon, Yenchem Chembe, Wofabakon, Mei Bakon, Wofabakon, Mei Bakon. Se Obieni Njia, Masisano. We have, Mr. Speaker, the president should not be sent into a lame duck rather too quickly. This posture doesn't give a good signal to the investment community. The issue of other agencies, if you notice, all the letters that went out to the people appointed to the agencies didn't appoint them as substantive officials. They have been asked to go and act, and then subsequently you make up your mind where you want people to serve, then you do some realignment. So that gives the president the liberty, when he now settles down, to realign and say, okay, you move to this organization, you move to this other organization. That is where you may then be asked to serve as a substantive head or CEO of that agency. So what is happening is not out of the ordinary.
We'll stay in Parliament now, and Ghana's Parliament continues to attract attention for the wrong reasons. If it's not near brawls among members of Parliament, then it's the use of unsavory language and words against one another, putting a dent on the image of Parliament and the Ghanaian people. Evelyn Tingma in this report investigates the causes of the growing indiscipline and lawlessness in Parliament.
There is growing concern about the increasing number of young and inexperienced MPs being elected to Ghana's parliament. While some acknowledge the potential of young lawmakers, others emphasize the importance of retaining experienced MPs to uphold the quality of parliamentary debate, governance and discipline. A cross-section of the public is worried that there is a breakdown of discipline in parliament which must be addressed. Over time, discipline has been a concern. Even leaders who are meant to serve as examples to the new MPs were seen raising tables and destroying state property, leaving much to be desired. Some say the lawlessness in the House is getting out of hand as MPs now use their microphones to speak during parliamentary or committee sittings without being recognized by the Speaker or the Chairman.
Honorable Nitiwul, you don't have the floor. Resume your seat. Please resume your seat.
The use of unsavory language is also common. So I ask, what could the problem be?
It has to do with the attitude. So that is what they have transported into Parliament. A lawmaker, instead of making laws and you are breaking laws, and if you are severely punished, I don't think it will continue. I think it's a disgrace and it shouldn't happen in our young democracy.
MP for Esitifi South, Collins Dauda, now the longest serving member of Parliament, also says it is an attitudinal problem.
We also need to have attitudinal change. If you are a member of Parliament, you must know that you have become different from what you were before becoming Parliament. Now, everybody watches you, and so you must conduct yourself in a way that is honorable.
While Professor Abdullahi calls for stiffer punishments to be incorporated into the country's laws and Parliament's standing orders to curb the situation, Collins Dauda advocates for more engagement and compromise.
If people know they are going to be punished for such behavior and severely punished, they are going to change. With anger management, it should be a standing program that people take when they come to Parliament the first time. And the other one is emotional intelligence. I think it's very important if you are going to be in such a leadership position.
To have the caucuses respect one another and for the caucuses to engage before any decision is taken. Leadership on both sides can organize a workshop to educate members, particularly the new ones, in order that this does not occur.
Former MP for Subin, Isaac Osei, says the recent happenings in Parliament reflect society.
What goes on in the wider society, and no comments at all from the authorities or those who are in charge of securing, our country. And it all started also recently with respect to the 8 or 9 constituencies which were in dispute, where people felt emboldened to go to these centers and disrupt proceedings. So what happened in Parliament, shocking as it may be, is really a reflection of what is happening in our country. Look, a lot of things happen, people get away with it.
He says the loud silence, usually by law enforcement agencies and government, is what emboldens people to act in such a manner.
The political parties, they have a key role to play in this. You know, where there are excesses in Parliament, they should be able to tell their members clearly and directly that this is not acceptable. The first time that happened, nothing really happened. And so it gave people the impression that they can do what they want.
Having lawmakers break the laws is obviously not good enough. But as some governance experts would argue, age is not the issue, but attitude. It therefore behoves on the Ghanaian voter to choose people who are well-mannered to represent them in Parliament in order to save their integrity, Parliament as a whole, and Ghana's democracy. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Parliament House.
Away from Parliament, a tragic incident at a recent football match has highlighted a disturbing trend in the country: the lack of first aid knowledge. In this report, my colleague Judith Brown recounts the death of popular Kotoko fan Pole and whether or not he could have been saved with first aid. There's more.
Chaos erupted at the Nanamwa Kromansa II Park as fans and footballers of Asante Kotoko and Nswatraman football teams clashed. What started as a mere altercation quickly escalated into fisticuffs. Although calm was eventually restored, the atmosphere turned ugly once again just after the final whistle. Amidst the chaos, one fan's life was slowly slipping away. Poli, a die-hard fan, was reportedly stabbed in what appears to be his chest region. Although there was an ambulance stationed nearby, there was a noticeable delay in administering medical attention. A viral video of the incident shows fans surrounding him trying to apply pressure to the wound. While the attempts to help him were well-intentioned, they may have inadvertently worsened the situation.
Just wouldn't do anything. You understand? Just wouldn't do anything because remember the ribs are there. So it's not as if putting pressure there is going to stop the bleeding. Because whatever is bleeding is inside, behind the ribs, protected by the ribs. So you can't have direct access to it. And at the same time, the material that you're using is not preventing air from going in. So it really will not do anything. If it's in the abdomen, which is softer, then you can put pressure, you can press on it. In that case, getting things to put pressure and pushing it can stop the bleeding.
Poli's death has raised serious concerns about the lack of first aid response at such events. This issue was recently raised in Parliament by the MP for Lambusie, Titus Bayo.
We need to review the legislation to make the training of basic life supports mandatory. Simulation exercise for medical emergencies must be made mandatory in such public spaces. And we must provide modern equipment for emergency care like the automated external defibrillators so that when someone's heart stops beating, we can shock the person to start the heart to start working again in the event of a heart attack.
But the question remains, could Poli's life have been saved with basic first aid knowledge?
Any injury within this space would affect the heart. Now, when it is the lung now, and there's an injury to the lung, generally within the chest, the pressure in it is negative. And so the higher likelihood that air will be sucked into the chest is very present. And for that reason, it means that you have to make sure that you prevent the air from getting sucked into the chest.
So what if I don't have this?
If you don't have this, then we now look at improvising. What we can do is that you can have this, something like plaster, pure water. That's something that you can find.
So
Now,
why don't we do it?
when it's a small injury, then it becomes like a one-way valve. The air will flow in the direction of the pressure. When it's a gaping injury, it's in and out. In that situation, you don't need to seal around it. you seal 3 sides and you leave 1 side. So that when it's supposed to suck, the pressure here will cause this one to seal itself. But when it's supposed to come out, it will open it and then it will flow out.
First aid training is a critical component of emergency preparedness and response. It provides immediate care to injured or ill individuals, helping to stabilize their condition before professional medical help arrives. Timely first aid can prevent worsening injuries, reduce recovery time, and even save lives. However, in Ghana, the state of first aid training is alarmingly inadequate. Compared to other countries, Ghana lags behind in providing accessible and quality first aid training to its citizens. Polish tragic death serves as a wake-up call for the country to prioritize first aid education and training. Judith Brown, TV3 News.
We'll stay on health now, and government says it will review all the Agenda 111 projects and decide on what next. The project started by the previous government to bridge the infrastructural deficit within the health sector was stalled prior to general elections. Well, according to the sector, Minister Kwabena Minta Kando, it will cost government about $1.4 billion to complete all the projects.
President Akufo-Addo on August 17, 2021, launched the Agenda 111 Hospital Project. The project covers the construction of 101 district hospitals and 6 regional hospitals in the newly created 6 regions. It also includes the construction of 2 psychiatric hospitals in Kumasi and Tamale, the redevelopment of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and the construction of the Western Regional Hospital. The projects were scheduled to be completed within 18 months as a lesson learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the projects have not been completed and handed over, though many of them are at various stages of completion. Will the current administration complete all the projects left by the previous administration?
I will hasten slowly to say all other projects will be continued. For example, I'll give you an example. You have started about 101 hospitals for the past, let's say, 4 years. None has been completed. Not a single one has been completed. You need not less than $1.4 billion to be able to complete these projects. Okay? You have spent about more than $400 million. You haven't completed even one. Even per the budget of the Agenda 111, okay, which I think one is around $18 million. The 400 million could have even completed more than 20.
According to the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Kando, further engagements will take place for a review in consultation with the President for the next course of action.
You have to think through, review the whole system again, know the levels of completion, know which area needs what urgently. If there is a catchment area where there is no health facility at all, are we going to consider those areas first? What's the level of completion there? How much do we have or how much do we need? Such projects, you must have dedicated sources of funding. I have to take my time, we review all these things, think through it, discuss with Mr. President how we can embark on all these projects. Why not? Our main target is to have accessible, quality, and affordable healthcare for the people of this country.
Let's do more stories. NDC MP for Garu, Dr. Thomas Anaba says the government must begin to take medium to long-take decisions to avert any possible cholera emergence in the future. Speaking to TV3, he disclosed the ongoing surge could prove an inhibition of foreign direct investment.
See, the reason why it will hang around is because of mid-term and long-term measures that we are lacking. One, most of the villages don't have potable drinking waters. Most of them don't have sanitation facilities, so they defecate in the open. For us to stop it, then we can't build a toilet tomorrow. It is how we should plan for the future whilst we treat the acute phases and make sure district assemblies get involved and ensuring that anybody who builds a house must have a place for their waste disposal. In that way we can manage. But so far, what the Ghana Service is doing is optimum. At least hospitals are provided with needed logistics like drugs, IV fluids, and personnel are moved from one place to the other to go and augment those who are in the disease-prone areas to make sure they minimize mortalities. So far, I think they are doing okay. But we call for the medium-term and the long-term measures. That is what would curtail and bring an end to a disease that we shouldn't just be suffering of. Because when you see somebody with cholera, means that he has eaten somebody's waste product, which is not good at all. It's not a good impression about a country. And tourists would shun away from our country because they wouldn't like to come here and get sick. And once they are coming to enjoy themselves, relax themselves, they fall sick. So that is what I think we should do to eliminate cholera in Ghana.
Now, the future of programs funded by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, especially in the health sector for millions of rural dwellers in Ghana, hangs in the balance. My colleague Christopher Marco visited the East Gonja municipality in the Savannah region to explore the implications of the suspension of aid for healthcare delivery and poverty alleviation.
Like other aid organizations, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has operated with a multiplicity of intentions in Ghana. USAID's efforts are aimed at improving the livelihoods of people, especially in the areas of health, education, conflict prevention, agriculture, and capacity building in governance. Ghana stands to lose about $156 million, with the health sector being the hardest hit, facing a $78.2 million cut. Several non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and civil society groups funded by the U.S. government through USAID operate in the northern parts of the country. The East Gonja municipality in the Savannah region is a beneficiary of the USAID funding program. A visit to the area reveals that pregnant women are concerned about the possible impact of the withdrawal of funding support on health care. The mosquito nets and SP drugs they give us for free has been helpful. We are very much worried that the US government is pulling its support. Maybe government should intervene.
It will affect a lot because those in the rural areas, those mosquitoes are the only ways they can use to prevent it. And if they are not available at the healthcare center for you to distribute, it will affect them. It's not all of them that can get it. Even if you want to buy it, you can't get it at the market. I think it will be good for the government to take up from the U.S. government and include it in the national health insurance so that when they come, it will be readily available at the healthcare facilities for distribution. That will be better.
USAID has invested over $300 million in Ghana's health sector since 2018, targeting malaria, maternal health, and HIV/AIDS programs. Without the inflow of funds, disease control may face a huge setback and mortality rates may increase.
Withdrawal of aid for development organizations and also bilateral funding to Ghana is going to have huge and colossal effects on this country. There are a lot of good work going on in the context of northern Ghana that is currently the zone that is challenged in terms of environmental issues and poverty. And most of the funding is coming from USAID. And support for dry season gardening has been withheld. Support to the health sector, climate change issues. I mean, even education. There's a great project going on trying to strengthen accountability system, education system. All those things have been put on hold. So, I mean, it's going to have a lot of impact on women, on children, on smallholder farmers, and we didn't see it coming. So I think our country has to quickly rethink to see how we can absorb the shocks.
This will negatively impact communities in the northern, northeast, and savannah regions, as well as other communities in northern Ghana. President Mahama has meanwhile instructed the Ministry of Finance to prioritize urgent interventions and implement immediate funding solutions to prevent disruptions in healthcare and social services following the USAID move. Even though President John Dramani Mahama has directed Finance Minister Dr. Kesel Atu Forsen to take immediate steps to bridge the funding gap that will be created as a result of the pullout of the USAID's international funding program. Pregnant women in rural Ghana are concerned about the impact of the withdrawal of the USAID funding support.
It's important that mosquito nets they've been providing them. Recently, we don't get malaria cases in pregnancy like we used to record them in the previous years, and that it has improved our health care with the pregnant woman, and we don't get complications during delivery and anemia due to those malaria cases that we used to record in the previous years.
This is probably a wake-up call for Ghana and other African countries to chart new paths and reduce over-reliance on foreign aid for some of their programs by tackling massive corruption in the public sector, among other reforms. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Salaga.
Back in the capital, Accra, with about 100 cases of burns recorded at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital Burns Unit, children make up between 60 to 70% of the cases. In this report by my colleague Oforiwa Dako, the rise in burn cases at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital is becoming alarming, requiring the urgent need to enhance the expertise of healthcare professionals in managing burn and reconstructive surgery cases in the country.
Having been admitted for about 10 days at the burns unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, a 3-year-old referred from the Volta region is battling for survival after falling into hot water. His mother, Esther, recounts what led to her son's current state and how his referral has become both a financial and emotional burden, coupled with the pain her son is enduring.
He was playing with the elder brother and accidentally fell into the water. So it's never been easy at all. Very stressful, sleepless nights. If they can establish burns units in other regions, Volta, we don't have any. So we'll be very glad if one is being put up there so that we will not have to travel all the way to this place.
Sarah Tago's 3.5-year-old is also suffering from multiple degrees of burns. She said her son's deep burn is traumatic and the cost of treatment is also taking a toll on her family.
I was drying clothes when I heard a noise from the room that he and her sister was crying. So I rushed inside and I found out that they were fighting. The sister is the eldest. She said this one pushed her first, and she pushed him, and he fell in the stew of pot's fire. When they were washing it in the emergency, I can't stand it. It was painful the way he was crying, and even the cost.
A 13-year-old also admitted to the burns unit at Kolebu is recovering from total surface burns caused by using a highly inflammable product, hand sanitizer, to light coal fire. Burn injuries among children have emerged as a significant global public health concern. During a routine checkup at the burns unit, the news team engaged the Deputy Chief Nursing Officer of the burns unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Safwa Ompong, about the rise in pediatric burn cases.
Some are negligence on the part of the parents, and some children are very curious, so they are always fidgeting with everything they find. They are always going around looking for other means just to play. And if your eyes leave them just more, then you see them going wayward. So most of the children come here.
She said scald burns from hot water and food were the primary causes of pediatric burns in the country.
We've also seen most of the burns that we get from the children is also from hot water. Why hot water? Why should hot water kill children? That is what somebody might ask. And I don't think it should. Because if we should get 30 children in a month, 20 is hot water, which is very alarming. And we don't think those things should happen.
Handling burns, especially at home, without effective first aid could increase the extent of damage to the body.
One thing that we don't know is the first aid. If parents know first aid management of burns, at least as soon as the child pours the hot water, they know what to do. If the first aid management is done well, the burns will not become big. Like somebody will say, a small burn will become a small burn.
As one of the busiest centers at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burns Center treats all types of burns, particularly severe cases, traumas and ulcers. Due to the critical nature of burn management, the second and third cohorts of nurses from across the country and other parts of Africa have been trained in a one-year modular program at Kolebu Teaching Hospital to manage burns and make critical decisions related to plastic and reconstructive surgery.
For plastic surgery, when you get an accident and it's a deep burn, which we learned, when you come over to plastic surgery, you have grafts. A surgical graft, which we call split skin graft. We have other types of grafts, so I'm mentioning just this, and we use it to cover the wounds.
I wanted to know what burns is all about. So with the course, we learned about what causes burns and the various stages of injuries that comes with burns, and what type of patients wouldn't need surgical interventions.
The director of the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burns Center at Kolebu, Dr. Opokowari Ampoma, said that without nurses, no specialty can advance. The center introduced the one-year comprehensive training program to help advance burn care.
We felt that then we have to do something about the lack of specialist expertise in the area of nursing when it comes to burns and plastic surgery, because you go to theater, go and perform a complex operation. If the nurses are not the same level to appreciate how to handle the patient, then all your work is not going to yield any good outcome. And so we decided to look for means to get this course on board.
Globally, burn injuries have been identified as a leading cause of morbidity and death among children. There are approximately 1,500 severe burn cases in Ghana annually, and a significant fraction of these burns occur during large-scale disasters. Ekia Ofreyiwa, Dagbon, TV3 News, Accra.
Quite an emotional story there. And you should go to
emotional.
Kolebu Teaching Hospital to see what is happening. It's an eyesore. A lot of things are happening there. But have you ever had an experience?
Not what I want to talk about.
Right. You're still tuning to Weekend Central here on TV3. And my name is Godwin Asidba. I'm doing this with
Judith Brown. Don't go. We'll be back with more news.
Stay with us.
One upgrade is nice, but a double upgrade is amazing. And that's how we do it. Upgrade today to get even more with Step Up. If you're on GoTV Max and upgrade to GoTV Super, you'll get way more with GoTV Super Plus.
It's so cool!
Get big value. Get big entertainment.
Very good.
Perfect! Upgrade and get even more with GoTV. GoTV. Love it.
Hey, na no fe ukwanya wo kasa wo ko wusi.
Enya me brother Mr. Happiness na ha me. Me see we who say Ghana Post aye fast, reliable and affordable nti. Na nsen na numa ye ne de edwanya kuma me di e de kwama no e fa Ghana Post. We di ni nyina. Ene se wasaswan masakodi dwa me de kwa Ghana Post yo. We ko bi kakra adwene kakra akrantie so hyase. Ghana Post,
the most affordable delivery option for food and merchandise from Ghana to everywhere in the world. Connect with us today and see for yourself. Ghana Post, smart, secure deliveries.
Mensa coming package, in less than 5 days. Ghana Post, they make life they be. Ghana Post will deliver to you wherever.
Step up with DSTV and we'll show up by giving you more incredible entertainment.
Going to have a little fun.
Upgrade your subscription between the 13th of January and the 31st of March and get an even higher package for a whole month on us.
Buckle up, here we go.
There's nothing better than putting a little bit in but getting a lot out.
Time to boost some office morale.
Incredible!
If you want to build a future, you gotta know what you want.
Step up and we'll show up on your home of entertainment, DSTV.
This Sunday on Hot Issues.
Why are we buying power in dollars when ECG earns cedis?
You have a good question. If we can get IPPs that are willing to sell in cedis, we'll do that. The ECG collects about 1.5 billion, and of that amount, about 500 million is not declared as far as the cash waterfall mechanism is concerned.
Are you currently facing that pressure to increase the electricity tariff?
It's not just about increasing the tariffs. If you increase the tariffs and you still go with a leaking basket, you're going to have a major problem.
Is the picture that civil society is painting the same as what you have come to meet?
The signal we are picking is that a lot of these overruns could have been avoided. And so we would investigate that. The level of opacity, the level of underhand dealings that characterized the previous administration, we will do away with that.
Hot Issues shows Sundays at 2 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news. Last week on Top Intern, our contestants shared their bold visions and future ambitions, inspiring us with their dreams. But now, it's time to put their critical thinking and communication skills to the ultimate test. Get ready for the Top Intern debate task.
These are people that, try to convince us to believe a lie they've concepted in their head.
But the impact on the generation is what we are accounting for today.
Catch the debate episode of the Top Intern this Sunday at 3 p.m.
Top Intern Season 2 shows Sunday at 3 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Tampico.
Welcome back. You're still watching Weekend Central. Now, hundreds of residents in Shiabu in the Ablekuma West Municipality of the Greater Accra region continue to be displaced following the destruction of their homes by tidal waves. Stanley Nibler reports that the woes of residents have been compounded by climate change, causing sea levels to rise.
Ghana has a 550-kilometer long coastline, which over the years has been affected by sea erosion, attributed to climate change. Coastal communities without sea defenses are badly affected by rising tides. In Shiabu in the Greater Accra region, the situation is worse, as rough tides have caused devastation in the area. The situation has persisted for years. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed, and the sea is now encroaching on more land. Foundations of buildings continue to erode, and the defenses erected by residents to protect their properties cannot save the situation any longer. Many residents have fled the area because it is no longer habitable. An elderly woman who we came across lost her 14-unit apartment to the sea. She sought refuge in a nearby church at the time of the news team's visit. An asphalted road in the community has also been affected by the sea invasion. The construction of a sea defense project by the state has been halted for more than 5 years. The assemblyman for the Opetekwe electoral area, Andrew Samini, has advocated for pragmatic measures to prevent further loss of property and lives. The Minister of State in charge of Climate Change and Sustainability, Isifu Seidu, appearing before the Appointment Committee of Parliament, indicated his willingness to collaborate with existing state agencies to mitigate the impact of this climate phenomenon.
I'm supposed to collaborate with existing ministries, those ministries that are into climate change and climate change in the climate change ecosystem. I'm supposed to coordinate them because if you look at what is happening now, Mr. Chairman, we have pockets of initiatives seated in the various ministries. And the president thinks that he should nominate me to be the coordinating point where all these initiatives and programs are brought under one envelope.
Other coastal communities such as Hafwasini and Shama in the western region, as well as Akplahutoko and Keta in the Volta region, face similar problems. The government should prioritize urgent investment in coastal defense projects and implement sustainable management practices to help mitigate coastal erosion. Additionally, authorities must take steps toward reforesting mangroves and enforcing environmental regulations to help mitigate coastal erosion. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Shiabu, Accra.
The Ghana National Fire Service has intensified its fire safety and security measures for petroleum transporters operating within the Tema Industrial Enclave following a surge in fire outbreaks across the country. The Ghana National Fire Service took it upon itself to train truck drivers on how to react in case of a fire outbreak.
In a bid to prevent and mitigate the risks associated with petroleum transportation, the Ghana National Fire Service has conducted a training session targeting transporters operating within the enclave. Speaking at the training session, the Deputy District Fire Officer Kwame Yurenchi Kwapon advised the general public to observe safety protocols at all times.
The general public is more security conscious than safety conscious. So when we get the opportunity to speak to the general public, we say try your best to adhere to safety protocols as well as also ensure you even have the fire service number. Try and also get some fire safety gadgets in your homes.
He assured that road networks will be rehabilitated to facilitate transportation of petroleum products.
The fire service, since we are also motor users, if the roads are in a bad condition, it means it's going to hinder us getting to the fire scene early. And 2 seconds of fire could cause a whole lot of damage. So we urge the government to have our roads fixed to also help the fire service perform better.
A health, safety, security and environment quality manager, Joseph Kwesi Asuma, advised all transport companies to organize training programs for their employees.
Advice to other institutions is that they should learn from advanced transporters like us, because we are setting the pace, and then we hope to see other people also learn from us, because it's going to help them in a long way. They are going to save a lot of money, because accident comes with a lot of cost, whether direct or indirect. So we are going to have financial benefits as well as saving human lives.
Now, 3 individuals from the Akachi North District have been shortlisted for the final vetting of Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives MMDCE applicants, which will take place in Accra. The Akachi North District has become a focal point of high interest due to its relatively rural status and the development challenges facing the area. A report by Faisal Abdul Idrisu.
The Akachi North District was created in 2012, carved out of the then larger Akachi District by LI 2161, with the objective to bring development closer to the people and to ensure improved living standards through service provision and socio-economic infrastructure. Though several strides have been made over the last 13 years, the district continues to struggle with poverty, youth unemployment, poor roads with its agricultural potentials not fully functioning. As we enter the final phase of the race for who becomes the next district chief executive, all 3 shortlisted candidates are promising to offer the right direction and leadership to address the developmental challenges that currently confronts the area.
I've always brought a lot of the youth on board. Inclusivity is my hallmark. I am a mediator in every angle. And as a creative person, I've always survived on creativity. My businesses are creative businesses, it is. So I am saying that when I'm giving the nod, because of my creativity, which I'll be bringing to bear at the assembly, currently the assembly owes about 4 million cedis debt. That's the debt that we have to go and pay. And it is only people who are creative who can go there and ensure that those monies are paid and we raise more funds for the assembly. Currently, there's the district chief executives who come, they just put their hands in their lap and they are there waiting for common fund. When the common fund comes, then that is what they will disperse. But I'm saying that we can use the opportunity there to create more wealth for the people and for the assembly. My vision is that I want to make a catching of a poultry hub.
My vision is focused on 3 things. The first one is about eradication of poverty. Then the second one is talking about improvement of life. Then the third one is about to make the NDC more attractive in the constituency. I've gone through the rank. I think I've worked with my people.
What I will do is I'll support the vision of the President of the Republic of Ghana so that we develop the district. Because I realize that our district is predominantly farmers. So I'll make sure that the mechanized, we have 3 big dams in the constituency. So I'll make sure that those 3 dams are mechanized so that our farmers will be able to have enough water to produce and then farm within the lean season. The youth are the backbone of this nation. So I will make sure that I will support them in artisan work so that they will have money in their pocket. They themselves will have money in their pocket. Nobody will feed them. We need to what? Make sure that we teach them how to fish, but not to eat fish.
Whoever becomes the next district chief executive will first have to deal with overwhelming debts at the district assembly and take steps to improve internal revenue generation to be able to undertake any meaningful development. Faisal Abdul Idrisu, TV3 News.
Right, it's time for us to go. Your happy moment, actually. I'm letting them know. I'm glad you've made some time to join us here Weekend Central. We'll come your way same time next week. My name is Godwin Asideba. Do you have time to mention your name as well?
I have time. My name is Shullis Brown. I will see you next week.
Right. Bye-bye. Right.
Why are we buying power in dollars when ECG earns cedis?
You have a good question. If we can get IPPs that are willing